Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of What's Better, Raw or Smackdown, where it's pretty much the episode where it's SmackDown versus Raw versus SmackDown, where I decide which show is better. Is it Monday Night Raw, or is it I almost said Friday Night SmackDown, because it's been Friday Night SmackDown since I started watching, but Tuesday Night SmackDown. Because pretty much they're having this whole thing where Raw is going up against SmackDown, and now it's going to happen at Survivor Series, so these next few episodes are going to get really interesting because we have Survivor Series coming up where Raw is going up against SmackDown. Going to be a very interesting next few weeks. So let's see what's better, Raw or SmackDown for this week. Last week, obviously, SmackDown was better. So let's see if SmackDown can continue its trend, or let's see if Raw can up their game and was able to beat SmackDown. So let's find out. Now, obviously, this is all based off my opinion, so... now, I'm not going to make this video go too long. I'm going to probably edit the video a little bit. I'm going to just cover Raw first, and then I'm going to pause the video and come back and talk about SmackDown. So, we had the Raw pre-show. This was, by the way, the Halloween special. This aired the day of Halloween, which was yesterday. And we had the pre-show. We had the panel of... Scott Stanford, and they were all dressed in Halloween costumes since it was Halloween. And Scott Stanford was dressed as Lita. Jerry the King Lawler was dressed as a gladiator. And Booker T was dressed as Donald Trump, which was kind of funny. And Lita wasn't on the panel that night. She was backstage in Raw being like the interviewer. And Lita was backstage. She was talking about the Hell in a Cell, the pay-per-view and all that, and she runs into Lana and asks her how Rusev is feeling, and she says that Rusev is feeling fine. He is my husband, he's the Bulgarian Brute, and he's a monster, and he's going to recover from this. And he talks about how Roman Reigns cheated to beat him and all that. And then later on, she was trying to get a word with the woman since they made history by competing in the first Hell in a Cell and main event in Hell in a Cell. But instead she interviews Cesaro, and she talks about how it was a tough loss, but Cesaro says, well, there's good news and bad news. The good news is that me and Sheamus are going to get a rematch for the Raw Tag Team Championships. And the bad news is that he still has to put up with Sheamus for a while. So then she shows Cesaro this tweet that the New Day left saying that no matter what Cesaro teams with, he can't team up. Whoever Cesaro teams up with, they can't beat him. And she shows the picture of Tyson Kidd, who was Cesaro's old tag team partner, that I kind of thought was funny. And then Cesaro says, well, I'm all done talking here. Why don't you interview Sheamus? And then Lita doesn't want to talk to Sheamus, which I thought was funny. So then we got the actual show itself. We had the commentators of Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Byron Saxton. Corey Graves had a Halloween suit on. Byron Saxton had, like, pajamas. He was like a duck, I guess. And Michael Cole was just dressed as himself. And it kicks right off with Goldberg. And I thought this was a hell of a way to kick off Raw, to give people something to look forward to. Maybe I kind of wish they would have left this for the end, because it would have been better in the main event of Raw, but I actually thought it was fine in the opening segment to give those people who are going to probably flip to football, or, probably people aren't out trick-or-treating for Halloween yet, I assume. So this was the way to give something big to people. And Goldberg comes out, and before he can really say anything, he goes to talk about Brock. Paul Heyman comes out, which I did not expect to see Paul Heyman. And he says that he respects Goldberg, and he asks permission if he can get in the ring. And Paul Heyman says, did you really think I was going to come alone? And he talks about how Goldberg's the only one who has one up on Brock Lesnar, and he wants to avenge that loss. And Brock Lesnar is a very impatient person. He goes to bring out Brock Lesnar. Now, I legit thought he was coming out as a surprise, but he didn't come out, but it didn't surprise me either. And Paul Heyman laughs about it. And he tells Goldberg that you must be very disappointed that you didn't get to fight Brock Lesnar in front of your son. But he says that Brock Lesnar is going to embarrass Goldberg in front of his family, and then Rusev comes out of nowhere, because Goldberg starts looking at him. He says that too. Goldberg had like that little streak going against him, and Brock Lesnar conquers streaks. Just asked the Undertaker at WrestleMania, so they're obviously trying to get Brock Lesnar some heel heat, because obviously Vince McMahon wasn't happy that Goldberg was getting Goldberg's such chance when Brock Lesnar was there last week, which obviously is Vince's fault. Which because I didn't really get to talk about it last week because I didn't really necessarily know. I knew something was wrong, but pretty much Vince McMahon last week when Brock Lesnar was there was upset. But Vince McMahon should have known that Brock Lesnar was going to get a good reaction because Brock Lesnar was in his home fucking town. So it's like, so now I guess they're trying to do whatever it takes to get Lesnar heat with the video package they played at Hell in a Cell and with what they did on Raw tonight. But then Rusev comes out and I'm like, well, I guess they wanted. I'm like, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool. And Rusev comes out and he talks about how he's the most dominant force in WWE, and he says that Goldberg is nothing. You were great in your prime, but now you're just old and washed up. And he goes off on Goldberg, and he tells Goldberg, and he says that he's gonna crush Goldberg. So he punches Goldberg right in the face, and Goldberg no-sells it. He just looks at him. And he needs and he even says too that he can't lay him out with it. Rusev actually brought up another good point too. What are you gonna do? Hit your two moves, the jackhammer and the spear, which I thought was nice. And Goldberg lays out Rusev with the jackhammer, which looked really impressive that he was able to get Rusev up like that. And then afterwards he spears Paul Heyman, which I thought the spear looked okay, but since Paul Heyman isn't really much of a wrestler, it's tough for him to sell that move, but I thought the spear looked pretty good. And Goldberg, and I really enjoyed this segment. I liked it. You made Goldberg look strong going up against Brock Lesnar by taking out somebody like Rusev, who's a big guy. Kind of sucked for Rusev, but I guess they wanted to do it with somebody. They didn't want to do it with like somebody like a Braun Strowman. They didn't want to probably do it with someone that's a dominant force. And Rusev, has been a dominant force for months, so it makes sense to do it with him. And Rusev actually was able to get heat on it because he's like probably the biggest heel full-time on Raw right now. Besides like Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. But they obviously don't want to bury Owens and Jericho either, so I thought that was good. And I didn't want to see, it would have been old if Goldberg just came out and cut a promo. I actually wanted to see him do like a spear or a jackhammer, so this was good here, And now I think we're probably going to see Brock Lesnar probably fairly soon. I can't wait to see them have like a face-to-face confrontation for the first time since WrestleMania, and I hope they actually do come into physical blows, just because of the fact that just because of the fact that they've been in physical blows before, so you don't have to necessarily not have them touch. Maybe have like a little bit of a brawl, something like that. Now, obviously, I am going to talk about too. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I really do not want to see this match, and reasons being is because we saw how it happened when they did it 12 damn years ago when they had a match. It flopped. Now, obviously, it's different now because because now they're not leaving this time. They actually give a shit. You can tell Goldberg really gives a shit about being back, and you can obviously tell Brock Lesnar gives a shit. So maybe it will be different. But I don't know if it's going to deliver because you have Goldberg, who hasn't really wrestled a match in 12 years. Even though he has done run-ins and stuff, but he still hasn't technically wrestled a match in 12 years. You have both of them who can't really sell really well, and they're going to have to do some selling when they wrestle, because usually, Brock Lesnar, when he's in the ring, he doesn't sell very much. Just watch his match at SummerSlam with Randy Orton. Selling is not Brock Lesnar's forte. Neither is Goldberg. And it is not Goldberg's as well. And then you have, the lose-lose situation. Now, I personally think that Brock Lesnar should win this match just because of the fact that you have Brock Lesnar. He comes in, who is this pretty much, I think, is going to be around for the long term. And it would just kind of, so I would think Brock Lesnar would win. They are not, but Goldberg is saying that he's his last opponent by saying that you're last. I think this is going to be Goldberg's last matchup. Now, I kind of hope it isn't. I hope he does like a Royal Rumble appearance, and then I hope he has like a matchup at WrestleMania. If it's like against somebody like an Undertaker. But I don't, or if you wanted to do a rematch, if Goldberg were to beat Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, you could do it there. You could have Goldberg wrestle somebody on Raw, like Kevin Owens or Chris Jericho, something like that. But you know, I'd rather see Brock Lesnar go over. Also, too, I look at it like this: you have Brock Lesnar, who also went to the UFC and won. He went to the UFC and won. And it's going to be weird if he loses a wrestling match. If he comes here, loses to Goldberg at Survivor Series, who hasn't wrestled in 12 years, but yet he went to the UFC, real life fighting and won. That looks weird. But you also have to look at it like this from the roster. You have Brock Lesnar. He's destroyed everybody on the roster, full-time basis. He's destroyed Randy Orton. He's destroyed Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, John Cena. He's even destroyed The Undertaker at WrestleMania. You got Goldberg, who hasn't wrestled a match in 12 years. If Goldberg were just to come in and beat Brock Lesnar, it would make the roster look bad. The whole roster, even Undertaker, even Cena. In fact, he didn't just beat Cena, he destroyed John Cena. And it would really make the roster look bad if Goldberg just came in out of the blue and beat him. Now, obviously, you can have Brock Lesnar lose eventually. I'm not going to argue with that. He needs to lose. But when Brock Lesnar does lose, it needs to benefit new talent. Now, obviously, you have people that he could lose to. He could lose to somebody like a Samoa Joe, who could come up from the main roster, and it would really benefit him. Maybe a Shinsuke Nakamura, who beat him before in Japan. It would make sense. You could have him lose to a Kevin Owens, because I hear they want to do a universal title match between Kevin Owens and Brock Lesnar at the Rumble. You could have him lose to Kevin Owens. You could have him lose... I don't know who else you could have him lose to at this point. You could have him lose to somebody maybe like a Bobby Roode if he comes up from the main roster. I think it would be kind of believable, kind of. But that's still kind of like eh. But we'll have to wait and see where they would progress with it. But that's kind of... But yeah, the opening segment I thought was good. I feel like I needed to talk about that. So then we had the first matchup of the night. It was Luke Gallows with Carl Anderson versus Enzo Amore with Big Cass in a Twicker street fight. And Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy were dressed up as... Enzo was dressed up as Buzz Lightyear, and Big Cass was dressed up as Woody from Toy Story, which actually did make sense storyline-wise because they had cut that promo saying that they were Andy and the big gal the night before, so it actually made sense. Now, they did cut... Now, Enzo and Cass do cut a promo. I don't really remember a lot about what they said, so I can't really tell you. So, this match here, obviously, it was what it was. It was a comedy match. It was a holiday match, so I was expecting what I got. It wasn't really bad or anything. Enzo Amore, I'm not going to say the guy can't wrestle. He's all right, but he doesn't have a lot of movesets. He's more... wrestling is not his big forte. But they had stuff in this match. They had a skeleton. They had kendo sticks that looked like... I wouldn't really say candy cane, but maybe candy corn. They had like tables stacked up with Halloween candy on it. They had that. Had it all in this match. Enzo Amore beat the crap out of Luke Gallows with the skeleton, and then he sent them bobbing for apples, which obviously he's the heel. The heel's always going to take that spot. So, and then Gallows really destroyed him throughout the rest of this match. He hit him with the kendo stick, and they had pumpkins all around the ring. And he he took out like one of the pumpkins and put like the inside of the pumpkin. I think it's called the fixins, but I'm not exactly sure. So you can poon me in the comments about that. And he smothered it all over Enzo Amore. And then you had Gallows beat the crap out of him with the candy corn kendo stick is what I'm gonna call it. And then Enzo Amore started throwing pumpkins at him, and Luke Gallows was able to was hitting them like they were baseballs, which was kind of funny. And then afterwards, Enzo Amore starts to make his comeback. He gets a pie, and Carl Anderson gets up on the apron and he throws a pie in Anderson's face, and Gallows' big bootsman sends him through a table with a bunch of crap on it. And then Enzo Amore puts a pumpkin on Luke Gallows' head and hits a DDT, like a springboard DDT off the top rope on Luke Gallows, and wins. Now, obviously, I could come out on here and say that this kind of made Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson look like jokes, which I would. I normally would say that, but I'm not going to say it in this case because, like I said, this was a holiday match. This was meant to be kind of funny and kind of hokey. So I'm not going to completely trash this match. And Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy win. It does advance the feud, and you can continue going with this in the future. So, I'm not going to completely put it. It is a little bit unbelievable, though, that Enzo Amore is a lot smaller than Luke Gallows, and he's beating him. It doesn't look believable to me. Now, you could say size doesn't matter in wrestling, but sometimes size does matter. It's like Enzo Amore beating Luke Gallows does not seem believable. Luke Gallows is somebody that should be able to go out there and destroy Enzo Amore like he's nothing. So that's kind of my opinion there, but, Then we had the next matchup. It was the Cruiserweight Championship match. It was the Brian Kendrick defending the championship against T.J. Perkins. Obviously, you have the Brian Kendrick, who just won the championship at Hell in a Cell, and this was T.J. Perkins' rematch. Now, I always hate the fact that they give away pay-per-view matches the night after they happen. They do the match at the pay-per-view, but then they come back and do it the next night on Raw, and sometimes the match the next night on Raw ends up being better than what you paid for, so I do hate that. This match, the Brian Kendrick, though, comes out and he talks about how, obviously, I don't know if he's Brian Kendrick or the Brian Kendrick. I'm going to call him the Brian Kendrick, though. And he talks about how he pretty much weaseled T.J. Perkins in. He made him show compassion for Brian Kendrick. And he said that he didn't need T.J. Perkins to let him win the Cruiserweight Championship last night. And he talks about, too, how T.J. Perkins is weak and spineless, and people that are weak and spineless don't make it very far, and are always are easy to fail. And we had the match. It was good. I actually think maybe this might be my favorite match that they've had. And it was a really good matchup. Kendrick dominated a lot of the matchup, and one of my favorite spots was when T.J. Perkins hit the springboard outside the ring, and he ended up landing on the back of his head on the apron. I thought that was a nice spot. And obviously, you had T.J. Perkins win by countout because Kendrick throws Perkins in the ring, and Kendrick halfway gets to the ring, but he doesn't fully get in the ring, and then he ends up leaving, and he ends up getting counted out, but he keeps his championship, which is obviously smart. And you can obviously save this to do this again at Survivor Series, or you could do it in a couple of weeks on Raw. And afterwards, T.J. Perkins goes right after Kendrick, and he gets him in the knee bar on the outside. And I thought this was good. What I also liked about this match is they actually made T.J. Perkins aggressive in this matchup. He wasn't wrestling the same style that he always was. He was actually wrestling like he was pissed off about what happened, which made sense. I just really wish that instead of having matches all the time, they could do a promo segment with T.J. Perkins and Kendrick, because you could have something here with a feud. You do have something with them. They have their history. Instead of just having matches, you could literally have Kendrick come out and cut that promo instead, and then Perkins can come out and say, you outsmarted me. This is you beat me underhandedly, and have him just beat the crap out of Kendrick and do the knee bar. You could still have him do the knee bar and not have to have the match at all. I was fine with the match, but it didn't need to happen. But the matchup itself was actually really good. So then the next thing was Mick Foley was backstage, and he was talking to a guy about The Walking Dead. It seems like The Walking Dead in WWE has some sort of thing where a guy on The Walking Dead is going to make an appearance on WWE at some point, which I would love to see since I like that show. Now don't comment on it because I haven't seen anything about it the current season. I'm still on the last season, so please don't tell me. And then Braun Strowman comes up and he tells Mick Foley that he asked for competition, but you haven't been giving me competition, and he demands to be part of Team Raw when they go up against Smackdown at Survivor Series. And Mick Foley tells him that, you know what, I know what you're doing. You're trying to threaten me and scare me into giving you what you want, and it's working. But you can't just come out here. But you can't come up here and get things what you want by threatening me. I want you to earn it. And he tells Braun Strowman that there's gonna be a battle royal, and the winner gets a spot on Team Raw. And he puts Braun Strowman in the battle royal. So then Mick Foley cuts a promo and talks about how there is gonna the controversy that went down during the WWE Universal Championship match inside Hell in a Cell. He comes out and he puts over the Hell in a Cell, talks about the code and all that stuff, and he says that, and Jericho come out And Mick Foley talks about how they made a mockery pretty much out of the Hell in a Cell, that, they cheated to win, yet you pretty much could have gone out there and you could have beaten Seth Rollins on your own and made yourself look like a legend, but instead you took the easy way out, and no one's going to be talking about this years from now. And Owens says a good line that, I think you're jealous that in my first Hell in a Cell match, I won, and you've been in 4 of them and have been a loser, and you've always been walking, and you always needed help to walk out. And Mick Foley says though that says that's all, pretty much then says that, and he says that he needs them both on Team Foley, and then they make him say it again, and he says he needs them from Team Raw. His ego isn't that big. He knows that he needs them from Team Raw, because anybody that can find a way to interfere in a Hell in a Cell matches must be a genius. And Mick Foley says that Stephanie McMahon didn't want Chris Jericho because of what he did in that Universal title match, but he says that that he's putting away all his gripes aside, and he knows that he needs them. So I think they're both the team captains, I believe. And then he says that and he pretty much announces that Roman Reigns is also going to be on the team. So then Roman Reigns comes out, and he makes some Halloween jokes about, how he was going to go as Chris Jericho, but how he was going to go to Halloween dressed as a stupid idiot, but he couldn't find a Chris Jericho costume and all of that. And then Chris Jericho says, I could beat you. I could beat you any day of the week, and I could take your United States champion. He says he would be a better United States champion than Roman Reigns. And he actually was going to, before too, he did the thing with the list where he was going to put Roman Reigns on the list. But instead he says, no, I'm not. No one here in Hartford, Connecticut is deserving of the list, and you're not deserving of the list. And Roman Reigns, but then Chris Jericho it was great here, and he says, oh, are you too hurt to wrestle me for the U.S. title? And Roman Reigns says that he will defend it, so Mick Foley makes the match, Roman Reigns versus Chris Jericho for the United States Championship. Which I like this. I like this whole segment. Obviously, I didn't care for Roman. I'll say this, he wasn't very good on the mic tonight. And that's all because it wasn't probably his fault. It's because when Roman Reigns has to be hokey and jokey on the mic, that's when he's not good. So then next we had the Battle Royal, where the winner gets on Team Raw. You had pretty much everybody in this match. You had Braun Strowman, Sami Zayn, Neville, Darren Young. I thought Bob Backlund was in this match, but he wasn't. Titus O'Neil, both members of the Golden Truth. I think he had the Shining Stars in this match, but I could be wrong. You didn't have Rusev wasn't in it because he had already been laid out. And I forgot to mention too, during the whole Goldberg thing, Paul Heyman had to be taken to the hospital afterwards. But you had Braun Strowman, and I think there was somebody else in there, but I can't think of him at the moment. And Braun Strowman looked really dominant in this match. He eliminated a lot of people. Bo Dallas actually got out earlier than I thought. Curtis Axel. And eventually all the everyone starts trying to work together to kick him out. So hits an uppercut in the corner. Sheamus blow kicks him, and then Cesaro uppercuts him. Sami Zayn hits a haluva kick in the corner, and Sheamus blow kicks him, but he lands outside the ring. And then everybody just starts eliminating each other, and eventually it comes down to Strowman, Neville, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Sheamus. And Sheamus tries to eliminate Cesaro, but Cesaro reverses it and eliminates Sheamus. And Strowman eliminates Cesaro, and obviously this is going to cause tension between Sheamus and Cesaro because there's still a dysfunctional team, and this is going to make it more dysfunctional, so I like what they did there. And then you had Strowman eliminate Neville, and it came down to Sami Zayn and Braun Strowman, which I thought made sense that they've been kind of feuded in the past couple of weeks. And there was a spot where Sami Zayn did the weird chin lock, similar to what Chris Benoit did the Big Show in the Royal Rumble in 2004. And I actually did think he was kind of going to win it there, but then Strowman ended up eliminating him. Now, obviously, I shouldn't say this. I didn't really think that Sami Zayn was going to win it, but it gave you that hope that he would win it. I knew Strowman was going to fight out of it, and everybody probably knew that Braun Strowman was going to win this match. It wouldn't have made any sense if he didn't, just because of the fact that they're trying to build him up at that monster, and having a monster like Braun Strowman on Team Raw is going to make Raw look like a threat. Now I don't know if he's gonna. Well, it would be kind of cool if you had him do something where he eliminated everybody from Team Smackdown. Well, what probably is gonna happen is he's probably gonna get like a count. He's probably gonna get counted out or something like that, or everyone's gonna have to hit a finisher. They're gonna do something to make him look really strong, or he'll get disqualified. But overall, this Battle Royal I thought was fine. It wasn't the best Battle Royal of all time, and it wasn't like a great Battle Royal, but it did the job that it needed to. It made Braun Strowman look strong, so I thought that was good. And the win mattered, so I was fine with it. So then they had this makeover Emelina. I don't know if I've talked about this before. I know I have on my Wrestling Fortune 44 channel, but I don't know if I've talked, which you can go subscribe to, but I don't know if I've talked about it here. I personally think that it's stupid that they're making Emelina pretty much look like a prostitute, pretty much look like a whore. And I pretty much hate that because she doesn't need to be any of that. They're trying to make it look like that she's there just for the tits and ass, and she doesn't need to do that. Is she hot? I'll admit that she is hot. But Emma, or Emelina, you could, whatever you want to call her, but Emma, I'm going to call her Emma right here, is a good wrestler. And what the stuff that she was doing in NXT was good. She didn't need to be this character that they're portraying her to be right now. She was a good wrestler, and they made her look like a threat in NXT. Just book her the way you did in NXT, and it will work. Because it did work. Obviously, you know, and it just sucks that she's going to be this character. And when I know for a fact when she comes up to the main roster, it's going to flop. Because it will. It's going to suck, and I don't know why they're going this direction. It just sucks that they are. So then we had a 6-man tag team match. Rich Swann, Lince Dorado, and Cedric Alexander versus Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, and Oriya, I think that's how you say his name, Daivari. Good 6-man tag. I thought it was a very good way to showcase the cruiserweights. Very good high-flying matchup. And it was good. You know, I really no complaints about it. And Rich Swann beat, I believe, Drew Gulak or Tony Nese. I kind of don't remember, with a kick to the head and a roll-up. And this is good. You got to build up Rich Swann because I think he's going to be the next guy after T.J. Perkins to go up against Kendrick for the Cruiserweight Championship. And I think they're going to do some sort of like 6-pack challenge or something with the Cruiserweights at Survivor Series. So it's kind of good you're starting to showcase the Cruiserweights. I still don't care about the division though. But having Kendrick win the title makes me care about it a little bit more than I did when T.J. Perkins was the champion. It's not T.J. Perkins' fault, but Kendrick as the champion has so many options you can go. You can go the Rich Swann route. You can go the Cedric Alexander route. And I think those are the two that they can go with. They can even go the Sin Cara route. I think they should do some sort of ladder match at well, they can't because TLC has Never mind, because TLC is Smackdown's pay-per-view. I forgot. Damn it. But yeah, this was a good 6-man tag overall. And then Charlotte comes out and cuts a promo. I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't pay much attention to it. I knew what she was gonna say, so I really didn't care. Pretty much, she talks about how she's the best because she's the queen of the women's division because she was able to walk into Hell in a Cell, the first one ever, and win. And talks about how Sasha Banks was weak, and she now announces that she's on Team Raw, and she says that she had to put Bayley in the weakest link, so she calls out Bayley, and Bayley asks what happened to her since she's been on NXT. You weren't like this before. You're really full of yourself now. Because she also because Bayley had congratulated her for being in the first woman in the Hell in a Cell and all that, and Charlotte says this isn't NXT. This is the big leagues now, and this is the way it is. And Charlotte says that to prove to me you're not the weak link, you can have a match with the next person on Team Raw, and not Sasha Banks, and Bayley thinks that it's gonna be Dana Brooke, but it ends up being Nia Jax, and Charlotte was on commentary to this match, but Dana Brooke was out there, and Nia Jax is also gonna be on Team Raw, which we had predicted, and this match I did not like. I won't say the match itself was bad, but it's Nia Jax is not a good wrestler. She sucks. She's good at looking like a monster, but she just is bad. The moves that she hit aren't moves that a monster would hit. They're not effective moves. Bayley got like a passable match out of her, but it really wasn't anything special. And I didn't like I didn't like this at all. Nia Jax sucks. And I was happy when she was off Raw for a few weeks. And I think I hated this too because I knew where this was going. And pretty much Nia Jax won with the, I think the leg drop. And beats Bayley. I guess in a way, but it does make sense since she's the monster of the team. And you have, I guess they're trying to build it up where Bayley wants to show that she's not the weak link, but she keeps losing. It's not a bad angle, but it's Nia. It's with Nia Jax. They feeded not Bayley to Nia Jax. I don't like that. And Nia Jax isn't good. She's just not good. She's just not. So it's like it made sense what they did. I just don't like what they did. So, and then next we had Sheamus and Cesaro versus the Shining Stars. It was okay. I really don't care about the Shining Stars. I don't like their gimmick. But Sheamus beats Epico with the Cloverleaf. So, it wasn't bad though, anything though. Primo and Epico could actually be a good tag. Could have actually been a good tag team for that company if it's just that they get shitty gimmicks. So it's like, and they don't get used properly. If they just go out there and could just be Primo and Epico and be aggressive the way they were when they came into the WWE, then they could be something. But then you have the Golden Truth, and they went to a haunted house. It was actually pretty funny where R-Truth was scared of it, and they were both all getting scared of it. And this was a way to utilize the... I don't know why I pumped these up, because I need these for my wrestling show on Friday, so I'm going to have to pump these again. But anyhow... Then you had the New Day segment, and this was awesome. And the New Day would dress as all the versions of the Godfather. You had Big E, who was dressed as him when he was in the Nation of Domination. You had Xavier Woods, who was dressed up as Papa Shanko. And you had Kofi Kingston, who was dressed up as the Godfather himself. It was actually really awesome. And the New Day pretty much talk about how they've been named the captains of Team Raw. And they talk about how they've been the greatest, how they've been great all year long. And they pretty much trashed the teams on Smackdown. I actually thought it was pretty funny and it was good. And it makes sense for the New Day to be the Team Raw because they've been the longest reigning tag team champions and all that. So I thought that was good. And then you have the main event. It was Chris Jericho versus Roman Reigns for the United States Championship with Kevin Owens ringside because Chris Jericho asked Kevin Owens to be out there earlier in the night. It was actually a good backstage segment they did together. But the match itself was actually a pretty good match. It was actually really good. Jericho, Roman Reigns, you can't really go on with them in a match. Owens interfered in the match, and Jericho dominated for a while, but Roman Reigns came back. There was a botch in this match where Jericho rolled up Roman Reigns, but he wasn't supposed to stay rolled up, so Jericho had to push him over and have him stop being rolled up. So I thought that was a funny spot. And then Roman Reigns is about to beat Jericho with a spear, but then Owens gets in the win and he beats the crap out of Roman Reigns, and then Owens throws him out like he's going to do the pop-up powerbomb, but he really feeds him into Jericho, who ends up hitting him in midair with a code breaker. Then afterwards, Seth Rollins comes out, and he beats the crap out of both of them when he hits the pedigree. He goes to hit the pedigree on Jericho, and Owens saves him. And then afterwards, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns have a face-off. Not a friendly face-off, but a face-off like they saved each other, but there's still some tension between them, which I kind of like, that they're not kind of going... that they're friends or anything like that. And it did get a Shield chant going. So I actually enjoyed I actually enjoyed this segment. I liked the main event. It was good, and I liked the way they ended the show with Seth Rollins, and I liked how you didn't see him the whole night until the end of the show. I thought it would have made sense if he wasn't on the show because of the Hell in a Cell match. Which I like that Sasha Banks wasn't on the show because it wouldn't have made sense if she was on the show. But I like that but Seth Rollins being on the show, he wasn't utilized till the end, so I thought that was fine. And overall, I thought Raw was meh. I thought it was an average show, but I'm not going to be too hard on it because they probably knew they were going to do a shitty rating because of Halloween, and they did have to and it was a Halloween show, it was a holiday show, so I wasn't expecting a lot out of it. But they did do some good things. They built up to Survivor Series with the whole Battle Royal and the whole segment with Owens and Jericho and Foley, and then you had the good main event. The cruiserweights were good this week. You had the Trick or Street fight really wasn't bad either, so it was kind of there. But it was an average show. It wasn't really anything special, nothing really worth seeing. So I thought Raw was an average show. If I had to grade it, I'd grade it a 5 out of 10. So Raw, so I'm not gonna criticize Raw too much because they did have to deal with the fact that it was Halloween. You know, I know it's like an excuse, but I'll admit it was Halloween. They probably didn't expect to do a great rating because everyone was at holiday parties and everybody was trick or treating, so they didn't have probably a big fan base watching Raw this week. I think half the people of my friends weren't watching Raw this week. I was just watching Raw because I was. Cause I didn't, so yeah. So then we had and obviously too they had probably football that night too, and I know people say it's not an excuse, but football is a tough thing for Monday Night Raw to go with since it's a big monster. So then we have SmackDown. I'm just gonna go this straight through because I want to just end the video. We had SmackDown from tonight. I actually didn't even change the date on my notes, so I have to change that. We had the pre-show of Scott Stanford, Jerry the King Lawler, Lita, and Booker T. Nothing happened on the pre-show though. Then we had the real show, the commentators JB Elmore, Ronaldo, and David Otunga. And James Ellsworth comes out, and this was terrible. He apologizes to Dean Ambrose for costing him the WWE World Championship, and Dean Ambrose comes out and says that it's okay, it's my fault for letting you come out there. But he continuously apologizes because he probably thinks that Dean Ambrose has passed at him, and he's just playing mind games with him, I guess, but it was just terrible. And but Ambrose says, like, it's okay, but if you get in my way, then we're going to have a problem. So then this makes Ellsworth even more scared. Then AJ Styles comes out and says that if anything, you should be thanking me because I made you a star. And then Ambrose and Styles get into it, and Ellsworth is trying to hold them back, but Styles tosses Ellsworth into Ambrose, and he tosses him out of the ring, and then he hits the phenomenal forearm on Ambrose, and he looks strong. I just do not like this segment because of James Ellsworth. Because he's just terrible. I don't know what people see in this fucking guy. He's fucking awful. He's just a jobber, really. He gets his ass kicked every week, and he's a jobber. Like, what the fuck do people see in this guy? I don't get it. And I have a feeling that he's going to get signed to SmackDown. It's like, he looks like a fucking jabroni. That's what he looks like. He's got no talent. He can't cut a promo. He's very bland. I can't really say his wrestling ability is good because he just has squash matches, but it's like, people got behind a fucking jobber. At least with Colin Delaney, people knew who he fucking was. And they were doing a storyline with him. Colin Delaney was better than fucking James Ellsworth. I don't know. So then Daniel Bryan's backstage, and him and Ambrose and James Ellsworth are arguing because of the whole opening segment, and Bryan tells Ambrose that he can have another match with Styles tonight, same stipulation as last week, where if he wins he gets a title shot, but this is his last chance. And Bryan tells Ellsworth to not go out do not go out ringside tonight. He tells him to stay back here, which makes sense because he caused controversy the week before. So then we get a no disqualification match between Randy Orton and Kane. It was very short. It wasn't very good. And then afterwards, Bray Wyatt, but during the match, Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper come out, and they try to help Orton at first, but Kane's able to fight him off. He goes to chokeslam Bray Wyatt, and Randy Orton hits a down KO on him. Wins the match, and then Harper hits the discus clothesline on Kane, and Wyatt hits the Sister Abigail on him, and they all pose together. I guess it was fine. I just feel like, especially too with what they do later on, so I'll talk about that when I get there. So then it has a Baron Corbin video package that I thought was very good. I'm not really like the guy Baron Corbin. I really not a fan of him, but I don't mind his gimmick. He talks about how he doesn't fight for family, he just fights for himself. I mean, he's real, I guess, but... And then we had a tag team match, Carmelo and Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch. It wasn't a bad match. It just... Most of the match took place during commercial. Like, I don't normally mind when the matches go on break during a commercial because the match feels important, but it's like when you fucking air your whole match pretty much on commercial, it makes it feel meaningless. Because they do that with the cruiserweights on Raw too. But Alexa Bliss beats Becky Lynch with the DDT, well, jumping DDT I should say, which I think makes sense because you have Becky Lynch who's defending the title next week on Smackdown, so you want to make Alexa Bliss look strong. Because after seeing this week's show, I fully expect Becky Lynch to retain the title next week. So, afterwards they do this lame promo where they announce they're going to be on Team Smackdown, and Carmella says that she should just be the leader of Smackdown since they've beaten Becky Lynch and Nikki Bella a ton of times, and they can string the team together, and they make fun of Nikki Bella, Bayley, and Nia Jax. So, and Alexa Bliss talks about how she's going to become the new women's champion, but they cut a terrible promo. It was just terrible. And then when Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon were backstage, and Naomi, they announced that Naomi's going to be on the team, and then she says that it's glow time. Just terrible. And Natalya comes up and wants to know if she can, since, because Bryan and Shane were talking about how Team SmackDown's women aren't looking too good because they have a lot of tension between each other. So Natalya wants to know if she can be like, she says that she can be the one to bring this team together, so they make her the coach. I just fucking hate this. I hate Natalya's gimmick. She's just I think she's a terrible heel. When she turned heel, I was fine with it because it made sense, but it's like, she's not a heel. She's a baby face, and she's a terrible heel. I hate this gimmick that she has where she's this fucking crazy cat lady. It's just awful. And the fact that Natalya is not on the fucking team, but Carmella is, it's fucking ridiculous. And Alexa Bliss is fine. Naomi's fine. But Carmella over Natalya, who could wrestle better, who could, if you give us good shit to do, can cut good promos. It's just terrible. And then we had the Spirit Squad versus American Alpha in a Survivor Series qualifying match. And the match wasn't bad or anything, but the crowd just really didn't care about it. American Alpha is just not over. And I think it's not really their fault. What's wrong is they don't really get featured enough on SmackDown. They're just... I don't think you've seen them in... This is the first time I've seen them in 2 weeks. This is a little long. So American Alpha need... If they were featured more and they could cut promos, then they would be better. Because I think on NXT that was what... Even when they weren't on the show, they were at least always doing something every week. They were trying to feature them. In SmackDown, they don't get featured a lot. And they're not really... There's just some sort of disconnect with how they're being booked. And it's just terrible. But American Alpha win with their tag team finish, which makes sense because they're the better team to have represent SmackDown. And I was fine with them winning. Right now it's Beauty and the Man Beast, the Hype Bros, and American Alpha. So, good tag team. And then you had Miz TV with the Daniel Bryan. This was really good. This is when SmackDown started to pick up for me. The Miz talks about how Daniel Bryan makes some announcements about SmackDown, who's going to be on the teams and everything. And we already know the tag team, and he says there's going to be a couple of more qualifying matches. He announces that the women's tag team, I don't know if I've said it yet, it's Nikki Bella, Becky Lynch, Carmella, Alexa Bliss, and Naomi. Those are the 5 women with Natalya as the coach. And he announces the main SmackDown people. And you can totally see that he teases Miz pretty much by saying he's going to be on the team. But he announces it's going to be Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, Baron Corbin, Dean Ambrose, and this is when he really teases Miz, and the WWE World Champion, AJ Styles. And then he says, no Miz, and he's like, no Miz. And he says, did you even put it under consideration? He says, no. And he gets a no chance started pretty much. But he says that he did put it under consideration. But he tells Miz the reason why he didn't do it is because when Dolph Ziggler went to offer you your Intercontinental Championship rematch, you said that you only fight on your terms. But we want people fighting on our terms. So it actually made sense the reason why he didn't put him on the team. I like that he actually made sense. And Miz talked about... Then Miz says, you know what? You're not even a fighter, really. You're a coward. You can't do anything anymore. You can't fight. You can't do... On the show, you can't do anything. And saying this as he's behind his release, which I thought was kind of funny. And then afterwards, Daniel Bryan gets pissed. He throws a chair. I don't know if he legitimately did get pissed off or what, but then Daniel Bryan says, "You know what? You don't want to have your Intercontinental Championship match. Well, why don't you just do what you do best and sit on commentary?" And tonight, Dolph Ziggler's going to have an open challenge for his Intercontinental Championship. So Dolph Ziggler comes out, and his open challenge is accepted by Kurt Hawkins. And I actually popped for this. I'm like, you know what? This is a good way to debut Kurt Hawkins and put him in a big title match. And Kurt Hawkins, talks about how this is a fitting spot to fit him in the title hunt. And he says, that he's going to beat Ziggler for the Intercontinental Champion. You're going to have to face the facts. And then the match starts, and he beats him with a super kick and pins him, and that's it. It was like less than maybe 5 seconds, I'd say. And it was terrible. And here's why. You fucking built up Kurt Hawkins' debut all this time. I believe it was like 2 fucking months. And he fucking loses his first match in 5 seconds. What bullshit that was. I was fucking pissed. I was enjoying his gimmick. I mean, it's not the greatest gimmick in the world, but if you're going to build up somebody's debut, don't job him out like this. It's fucking bullshit. But I did like what happened afterwards. Dolph Ziggler gets on the mic, and he says that if Miz is only going to have his rematch on his terms, then he announces that at Survivor Series, since it's Raw versus Smackdown, and they're doing this fantasy warfare, he's announcing an Intercontinental Championship open challenge for anyone on Raw to come out and face him for the Intercontinental Championship, which I actually like that idea. It makes sense. They're doing that brand warfare shit. I actually thought afterwards he was going to challenge Miz for the IC title on SmackDown, but I like what they did instead. And I think what's going to happen is, for the people that could come out and accept, I think it's either going to be Neville, Sami Zayn, or I'm trying to think up another, maybe like a heel on Raw. Maybe Titus O'Neil, which would be bad. But somebody like that, I don't know. Or Rusev. Rusev could come out and accept because he's not on the Team Raw. So I think it could be one of those guys. And obviously I don't think they would win the title just because this title is exclusive to SmackDown. So it wouldn't make any sense. And then what happened next? Dean Ambrose is backstage and James Ellsworth comes up. And he says that he wants to be ringside for Dean Ambrose's fucking match. Actually, at first, he got interviewed, and he asked what it's like knowing that James Ellsworth is going to be out there to accompany him. And the person that was interviewing him fucked up James Ellsworth's name, so Dean Ambrose gave a shit for it, which she deserved. And then, but yeah, Dean Ambrose says no because of what happened last week. It was so stupid. James Ellsworth is a fucking idiot. Why do people fucking like this guy? He's a fucking moron. He was told he couldn't even be out there, and he's asking to fucking be in his corner, even though he knows what happened last time when he was fucking out there. It was fucking stupid. And then we had the Randy Orton, Luke Harper, and Bray Wyatt backstage. And Bray Wyatt says he's actually going to accept Randy Orton into the Wyatt family because of the fact that he's a viper and he's possessed by the devil. And Randy Orton tells Bray Wyatt that he believes that he was risen from the devil, and he says that he was meant to be this way. And Bray Wyatt, he says, "Why fight it anymore? You've shown me the light." And by his promo, it feels like he's scamming him. I just feel it. I know he's scamming him. The reason why I'm not behind this is because I feel like he's trolling Wyatt. And if that's the fucking case, it's going to make Bray Wyatt look fucking stupid. Because, one, this is the second time someone's fooled him. You remember how it went before when somebody joined up with the Wyatt family. See Daniel Bryan in 2014. And if he gets scammed again, Wyatt looks like a fucking idiot. I feel like this is a troll because I just feel like it is. If it isn't a troll, I'll dig it, but it's like, I just know the fact that it's... And that was so fucking stupid how it happened, too. After he says this, when the fucking Randy Orton's eyes get, all lit up like he's been possessed by the devil. It was fucking stupid. Like, I don't mind when they do this shit in horror movies, but not in fucking WWE television. There's things you don't do on wrestling. This is fucking one of them. This is stupid. Next match was the Headbangers versus the Usos in another Survivor Series qualifying tag team match. This match was fine. The Headbangers, I'm fine with them. I don't know a lot about them, but I know that they were a tag team from the past. I've seen one of their matches before. And I'm fine with them. I'm fine with them being on SmackDown. Similar, where they're going to put over the tag teams and the Usos. They ended up beating the Usos with a roll-up, and I thought it was good. So, and the Usos are now going to be on Team SmackDown. Then AJ Styles get interviewed, and he actually got a good interview. He says, "Can I, not walk backstage without getting interviewed?" And he cuts this mockery face promo on how he's looking forward on facing Dean Ambrose. I thought that was good. And then we had the main event, Ambrose versus Styles. It was a pretty good match. Out of the 3 matches that they've had together, this is probably out of the 4 matches, actually, that they've had together, this is probably the worst one, just because it felt like Ambrose kind of dominated Styles in this match. He really kicked his ass in the beginning. But I'd say pretty much Ambrose kicked Styles' ass in this match. Then James Ellsworth comes out and because earlier in the night Ambrose, I don't have it written down. Actually, I did have it written down. I just forgot to mention it. Had kicked Ellsworth out of the building so that way he couldn't interfere. But Ellsworth comes out and he almost screws over Ambrose again, and the security chases him down, but they never catch him. They actually chase him out of the arena, and then he gets chased back, and Styles was going to hit the phenomenal forearm, and Styles throws Ellsworth over the announcer's table, and Ambrose ends up beating him with a dirty deed, so he becomes number 1 contender, which I'm completely fine with. So this was, I guess, a fine match. It was really ruined by Ellsworth, because it's like, just him ruins everything. I don't know what the fans see in this guy, and I don't never know, So then we had Talking Smack with the panel of Renee Young and Daniel Bryan. Natalya invades the panel and gives Daniel Bryan a shirt of a cat. She talks about her cat and how she's going to bring Team SmackDown together. And Shane McMahon comes up and says that he did that so that way he could get rid of her, which was kind of mean. And they announced pretty much that the match for TLC, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view, was going to be AJ Styles defending the title against Dean Ambrose in a Tables, Ladders, and Chairs match, which I'm completely fine with, because obviously you have to give him his title match. I thought they just do it on SmackDown just before Survivor Series, but I'm actually fine with them doing it at TLC, one final blow-off match. Plus 2, the reason why Ambrose is probably still in the title picture is because Styles literally has nobody to go against. Orton's pretty much kind of going heel now, which I don't think he is going to go heel. You have Daniel Bryan, who's injured. I don't know why I even said him. But you have Dolph Ziggler, who's kind of the Intercontinental Champion right now. You have, who else? You have Jack Swagger, who's a jobber, pretty much. And you have James Ellsworth, but I don't want to see that. And Bray Wyatt, I heard they want to position him in that direction. Maybe they could, but he's also a heel, so Luke Harper's definitely not ready for that spot yet. You don't really have a lot of options. So, and Ambrose and Styles, I think, are going to have a great TLC match. The matches without a stipulation is great, and with a TLC match, I think it's going to be sick. And then American Alpha get interviewed and talk about how they're going to win the tag team match. And Dean Ambrose talked about, Raw and SmackDown and all that. I really didn't listen to it, but it was fine. Overall, SmackDown, I thought, was a pretty bad show. I'm looking over these notes, and the only things I really cared for was the tag team matches, Miz TV, and the Styles maybe Ambrose match, but it was ruined by Ellsworth. If I had to rate SmackDown, I'd rate it a 3 out of 10. I thought it was bad. I'd say Raw was better this week, but it really isn't by much. This was not a good week to be a wrestling fan if you're for Raw and SmackDown. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So Raw won this week, which is pretty sad since it was a fucking holiday show, and it's beating SmackDown that didn't have to deal with the holiday crap. So I thought SmackDown sucked. I just don't care about it. It's just, ugh. You know, this is not the good way to start off the first week going when they're going to have the big Survivor Series matches together. It was just, ugh. But that's pretty much it, guys. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and all the other channels down below. I'm not going to say them just because I'm done talking. So that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.